good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where and when you are watching us from. It is the 25th of September, the year is 2022, and we are here very glad to welcome you to join us in this discussion where we'll be talking about African gods, from the gods of the hilltops, the mountains, to the forest, to the deep oceans in the beautiful continent of Africa. Today, here we have wonderful guests lined up for you, a wonderful panel, as you guys can see, and it's going to be awesome. So keep it tuned, continue sharing with your people so that they can come in and join us today. Today it has been a good day, especially I am learning that Eliud Kipchoge, the son of the soil, a Kenyan to be specific, has gone against all odds, and has, oh my God, I don't even know how I'm going to describe it. So, back to the topic of the day, I am Motazi wa Chirawa Nyaga, Mojiro wa Barea Karigezi. That's how we introduce ourselves here in my community in Kenya. And today we want to talk about African gods, and we are going to talk about that and see where it goes. With me here today is a wonderful gentleman. And before we introduce them, or before they introduce themselves, I want to bring in my co-host Ali, all the way from South Africa, to tell us how he is and how he's doing from the mountains of Limpopo. Ali, how are you?
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning to everyone who's watching the show. My name is Ali. Thank you so much, my brother. It's a big night tonight. I see that we have a lineup. All right, thank you so much, my brother. I'm taking it back to you, my brother, so that we can go by procedure.
Asante sana. You're always giving us this energy, this vibe, which is, I love it. I love it. I don't know what the mountains do to you, but we also have a mountain here in Kenya, and there's the spirit of the mountain. However, without much further ado, I want to bring in my guest, starting from all the way from South Africa, Mazembe. I don't know if I've done justice to that name. Maybe he can introduce himself, tell us who he is, what he do, and where he comes from, the community that he represents, and before we get into the question. The floor is yours.
No, first of all, I greet each and everyone here. My name is Gift Mazambe. I am from Zimbabwe, representing Masvingo province. But currently I'm in South Africa as we speak.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Thank you very much for that. From there, we go all the way to the east, the eastern part of Africa, and the gentleman I'm going to start with is T.F. Karugu. Please introduce yourself to the house and to the audience.
So, hello everyone. My name is Karugu Kiugo. I am a Kikuyu from Kenya. And it is an honor to be here. I am a Pan-Africanist, let me say, so it is always an honor to be in a platform that discusses anything to do with the African continent, and especially our spirituality, which we have forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm still in the east. Byron, the floor is yours.
I am going to go with the host's line, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on wherever you're watching from. I am Byron Otieno Kotola, son of the lake. I am a Luo in Kenya, and I am proud to be here. I love discussing African matters, and I cannot wait for this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And crossing the sea, the water, the vast waters, all the way to the United Kingdom. Pastor Alan, please introduce yourself today.
Hi, everyone. I'm loving the energy in here, I must say. I want to greet everybody who's joining us this evening and to all the panelists. I am from Ghana in West Africa by birth, currently living in the United Kingdom. I'm a senior pastor of Encounter Arena, which is a charismatic church here in the United Kingdom. So I'm looking forward to what's going to happen this evening, and I'm looking forward to the energy and the wisdom that we're going to share together.
Thank you guys. Thank you very much. And myself, I'm a Kenyan by birth and by choice. I like saying that so that it be very clear that I am not an African by being forced. I'm actually enjoying being an African. So, guys, we have gotten to notice that in these modern times that when we are talking about the concept, this metaphysical concept about God, it brings up a question because with the influence of the visitors or the foreigners who came from the various parts of the world, they brought various cultures into the continent of Africa. And it brings up a question, were the Africans who were there before us believing in a God, in a supreme deity? Were they really understanding the concept of God? And that's where we want to begin from tonight. We want to ask ourselves the first question, and I'm going to ask this across board, representing whatever community you're representing in the continent. Did your people, did your forefathers believe in a God? How did they call him? Or was he, the God a she? Was it a he? Was it an it? Was it, just describe how your people believe in this superior deity. And if there wasn't, you tell us there wasn't. So in a similar fashion, going all the way to South Africa, representing the Sepedi people. Ali, my friend, tell us about the gods of your forefathers from the mountains of Limpopo.
Yeah, my brother, this side, when we build, they usually say that we listen to our parents, what they have to tell us what to do. You don't normally like go in detail, try to research, try to ask your grandparents. We just listen, especially our mothers. We listen to our mother. If your mom tells you that, look, this is what we do, we listen to them what they do. But at the end, when we start to grow and we start to make research, we start to see that, actually I was supposed to take this path, not this one, at a later stage. And you find that we even fight with our parents because of we end up taking a different route, the one that they thought that we need to take this route, because we end up disagreeing with them with the route that they want us to take it through. But this side, my brother, this is how it goes through. We were told, personally, I was told that we need to believe in God, and God is only one God, and God is a man.
As simple as that.
Quite easy.
Quite easy. Okay.
Okay. Also, we were told that also our grandmothers and grandfathers, they also told us about ancestors, because this side is a serious conflict where you find that a person is a Christian, and when the person is a Christian, there is a conflict of interest where you find that you have to perform some of the cultural things, and you have to stop from being a Christian, go back and start perform some of the other things in terms of your culture. When you go back to church, there's a conflict there, but we're gonna get to that. But on my side, I just want to keep it short. I confirm that we only have one God, and the God that we pray is a man.
Okay, he's a man. And Ali, you can check on your mic. We're not getting your sound quite clearly. Over to the man from working in South Africa, but from a different country. You've said you're representing your people, and I do understand that you understand also their concept of culture and how they view their God. How did they view God? How did they view this concept from the previous eras that man existed?
Mazembe?
Yes, according to if we check, especially from where I came from, the community I came from, especially I can go back to the ancient generation. So it's the country where was believed mostly in the mountains, from the gods from the mountains. For example, if we can go to Mount Kilimanjaro, it was not for everyone to go there and come back. Especially you go there, you have to get lost, which means if you want to go there, firstly you have to consult with the elders from the community. And so mostly we believed in that most of the time. So we really from that country, we really, if it's today up to date, we really believe in the gods from the mountains, simply because it works in a mysterious ways till up to date. For example, long time back, the elders were, if we may be facing some challenges, especially for the lack of the rains, they were going to the mountains and ask from the ancestors. Then after some few minutes, then you have to get some rains before the Western culture come to our country. Before it come to Africa and trade our cultures. So which means it's something which was working in a mysterious ways before the Western culture betrays our culture and changes most of the things. That's what we believed in.
Thank you for that. And Karugu, you come from a community that is also known to live around the mountain, and this is Mount Kenya, but we know it as Kirinyaga. How did the people of the Koyo community believe in the concept of God? How did they view that concept?
The Kikuyu understanding of God was very advanced, because first of all, there's a proverb in the Kikuyu community that says "Gaida giagiago," which translates to "you should not keep disturbing God." So in our community, people do not keep disturbing God every other minute like today, and they believed many things about God. So first of all is that God was found in everything. They believed there was an aspect, a divine spark or a divine part of God in every being. So the Kikuyu used to respect life, and not just life of human beings, but also life of animals and every other living thing. So they used to believe there was God in everything, and they also used to believe that God was represented, or you could reach God through ancestors. Or rather, ancestors could answer your prayers first. So that is why they used to say you should not keep disturbing God, because most of the things that you wanted or you can get from God, you can get from your ancestors. And God was only reached when there was maybe a severe famine. And that is when medicine men and the religious leaders of the Kikuyu would gather together and then fast for a number of days and then go and pray to God. But other than that, everything else could be answered by ancestors. Maybe I would like to speak a bit about the Maasai understanding of God, because my ancestors, my Kikuyu forefathers are only about 7 up to the 1700s. After that, my forefathers are Maasai. And the Maasai understanding of God was also very interesting. The Maasais believed that God had a dual nature. There was the vengeful God and the benevolent God, benevolent and malevolent God. So the vengeful God was thought to be red in color, and the good God, the benevolent God, was thought to be black in color, which is an interesting idea considering that today we associate black with evil, yet the Maasai associated the black with the benevolence of God. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Karugu. Actually, I happen to come from the same community as Karugu. And Karugu, you can also tell them in the concept of the mountain, the forefathers that existed during those days, and even during right now, these modern times, they pray facing the mountains because they believe, not that they pray and think that the mountain is God, but they thought that the mountain represents God, like the humongous nature of the mountain, the big, vast, powerful mountain. And they used to pray, and the men used to look at the mountain and, put their hands like this, and they say, Thai, the Yangai, Thai. And it was just a wonderful thing. And they used to pray and to God, who is not the mountain. Let me put this quite clear. Not that they believe that the mountain is God, but God was represented by the mountain. Anyway, I hope I made that clear. Let me go to the mountain. Yeah, come in.
Thank you very much for bringing that about. So it's very good to clarify that God was believed to have many dwelling places, and the mountain was perhaps the holiest of his dwelling places. But one of his other dwelling places was actually the county that I hail from. You see, I've been brought up in the Abadeas, and the Abadeas were thought the dwelling place of the Lord. My county is called Nyandarua. Ndarwa comes from the word Ndarwa, and Ndarwa was a skin, and it was believed that the sleeping skins of God were found on that forest. So it was also very revered, and the forest together with its animals. Yes, thank you so much for that clarification.
Thank you. Let me bring in Pastor Allen. Because I see Byron Kochala is not on. Oh, he's back. But Byron, hold on there. Pastor, your case is quite unique here because you are a Ghanaian and you are living in the United Kingdom, and also you are a pastor. So tell us how you understand the concept of God from your forefathers' perspective.
From the perspective of our forefathers, again, the kind of beliefs that we have had, our forefathers didn't have a religion. What they had was different traditional beliefs. So we used to call them, or we call them, the African traditional beliefs and practices. So they had all these beliefs and practices, and they never documented them. So anything that was passed down to us would have come to us through oral or something to do with our festivals that we have, or to do with songs. So we learned a lot of how they saw God and how they saw their worship of God through these modes of transformation or transference of information. So I'm from a place, a group of people who are called the Akans. And the Akans is made up of different tribes. So you can imagine that the way African traditional beliefs and practices are set up is such that every tribe or every society or every community will have their unique system of worshiping God, or their system of beliefs. Now with the Akans, there is the belief, with the Akans, there is the belief that there is a creator God. Like most people, there is a supreme God. His name is Obuadie, and Obuadie means the creator. Now, Obuadie is known in the community to have a wife who's called Asasia, which means Mother Earth. And it is believed that this God was too powerful and too busy to be in constant communication with humans. So what he did is he empowered lesser gods and empowered ancestral spirits to deal with day-to-day issues while he stayed God. So this was the kind of belief that existed. And so in my community, what they used to do is they paid a lot of attention and reference to the ancestors. And hence why when they pray, they also pour libation to the ground to Mother Earth. And one of the interesting beliefs they had on there is that as a result of a consummation between Obuadie, creator God, and Mother Earth, which is Asasia, they gave birth to 2 children. So these are some of the things that have been passed on to us and some of the things that we have known. So they didn't have a religion, but what they had was traditional beliefs and practices which varied from every community. So other communities might have something that is very different, because there is another set of people in a different community who also believe the same concept of Mother Earth and Obuadie, the creator. But what happened is that the 2 of them had 2 sons who came from above and 2 sons who came from beneath. And when they both came, they both had no children. So this, for instance, the creation story we have. And so there was a python, an African python, which entered into a river, came out and spat the water on their bellies. And as a result of that, they began to have children and multiply.
Wow.
So these are some of the things, the traditions, oral traditions that have been passed on to us through that means.
I don't know. I've just loved the story. I'm so happy to hear that. I've actually never heard of that, and this is a wonderful thing. But I don't know if I'm going to put you on the spotlight here. I've never met a person from the Akans community. How do you people greet each other in that community? How do you say, like, good morning or good afternoon, good evening? How are you?
Oh, I mean, with the Akan community, especially with the Chi side, when you meet somebody, normally you greet them machi. Machi means good morning. and so there's all of it. I mean, we've got different tribes and different languages, but one particular area you will greet Machi when you wake up.
Oh, that's really nice. That's really nice. Ali, personality is really making me happy today. You know, I'm really I'm really wondering how you're a pastor and you're able to know about your culture. It's just wonderful. You know, the fact that you are still a pastor and know your culture is just beautiful. However, Ali, before we bring in the other question, let me just acknowledge the people who are sending in their comments. Please, you can put them in the screen. So that we can acknowledge them. I can see Wambogo Mangwa, that is from Kenya. He's saying he's locked in. Who else is with us tonight? I can see Ubeka sending in some laughing emojis. Yeah, I can see Charles Ruita Washida. He's called like me, saying tuned in. Stephen Manyaki saying tupo site. Tupo site is a Kenyan slang of to mean we are here. You know, we are here. And Mageto Misiani, I'm still part of this from here. Please go back. I'm still part of this from here, despite many inconveniences that I could not join. Yeah, Mageto was one of the panelists who was supposed to join us, and unfortunately he hasn't been able. But it's okay. Allow me now to bring in Byron, the man from the lake. Byron, how are you? Tell us if your people believed in a god, and how was the concept? Is it as interesting as the Akans all the way from Ghana? You can unmute yourself, Byron.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
we can hear you loud and
clear.
clear.
Your camera, right? Your camera?
I'm not sure. Can you see me okay now?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yes, unfortunately, I haven't heard about the Ghana people, but yes, our God was quite interesting. It wasn't as much of a God, but a concept of God, in that we believe that the Spirit of God was everywhere and could be found in everything, from the lake to the sun to the forest, in animals. And so we communed with us all those beings in the process, in what we call God. Mm-hmm.
That's it, Byron?
From what I've understood from the question, yes.
Okay, no pressure. I think you're going to agree as Alice God, you know.
our God was very interesting.
Very interesting.
And it for us, it was just a matter of people communicating with God. That was all. So you could communicate with Him through all these beings. We are most famously known for communing with snakes. The python. I don't know if you've heard of Omeri, the snake that eats bread. Yes, that is what we're mostly known for, because some people commune with it. It was also God in its own way.
That's really interesting.
Wachiri, can I ask Byron something? Because I have a friend of mine.
Please go through, but Ali, sorry to cut you short. Your mic, we can't really hear you. Try and project your sound. But as Ali thought that out, I think what we are getting from all the people here is that, yes, indeed, from the west part of Africa, from the southern part of Africa, from the eastern side of Africa, we have agreed that these people believed in a higher being. Let me not call him God, but let me say in a higher being, in a superior deity that, you know, we are human beings, but there is a power that is higher than us. And that is what we are coming, you know, to get to as a conclusion. However, because you've agreed that, now let me ask you, what were the practices that your people were doing that acknowledge the presence of this superior deity? What were they doing? I've had people mentioning about the pouring of libation. I've had people talking about, myself, I've said we face the mountain and you know, put our hands like this. What was the practice that the forefathers were doing, or is it even still done today in this modern era, that they acknowledge, they praise their God with, they worship their God with? What are these practices? I'm going to start with Mozambique. What are the practices that your people were doing? Mozambique, come through.
Yes, I'm through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially, yes, I come back to what you said before, especially back in our community.
Mm-hmm.
Most of people back in our community, they still believe from the goals from the mountains. I can give you some examples. If we can go back to our forefathers, where, for example, people like Neand and Kagubi, they played a big role, especially in the Zimbabwean region, in Zimbabwean country. Most African face a lot of challenges like hunger, the shortage of rain. Those people were going to the mountains, or even some religious people, they will come back to them and ask for their assistance to go and speak to the ancestors that the country is facing a lot of challenges. Even the late president Mugabe is one of the person when he got some challenges, especially like war, hunger, they go straight to this to those forefathers and ask for the guidance from the ancestors. So those people going to the forest mountains for some forbidden lands to ask for a cleverness from the ancestors, the way they are going to be guided. So immediately they were going to give some answers. Our prayers are being answered with immediate effect. If they go if they go to those mountains and ask for rains, it will can't take a long, maybe or after an hour when they come back, or 2 hours, we receive some heavy rains. So especially each and every one be covered, especially our animals like cattle. Then the rivers when they begin to be filled with the floods. So that's why most of the people back in our community, they still believe that the ancestors or the forest mountains, they work in a mysterious way before the Western culture comes to our community or to our country. Especially we can face now our country. Before the Western culture, we didn't suffer many hunger. Now, if you can look at the present moment, most of my fellow countries, my fellow brothers and sisters, they are floating from other countries looking for green pastures because there is a lot of hunger. Mara before, if we can look at the area of Kagubine and for example, there was no such things, because when we face some hunger, they were going to ask for them. They go to those forbidden lands like Mount Everest, Mount Kilimanjaro, then ask for help from the ancestors. Then the prayers will be answered with immediate effect. They will give some rains, foods from the forest. Many of the things will happen. We have a lot of flocks, which means our animals, they didn't have some droughts. So still get your point. Most we see now the Western culture. No, they play a major part in our community that we as African brothers and sisters who are facing now, that our forefathers, they never experienced it before.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for that. You've actually reminded me about a certain concept that I learned in African philosophy from a person called, he was actually a reverend father of the Roman Catholic Church, and he had gone to the Bantu people of Zaire, Congo, the Baluba people. And after he had done his research, he was called Father Plasai Temple. he was doing his research, and he was trying to look at if these people indeed have a philosophy. And in his book that he titled La Philosophie Bantue, which is basically the Bantu philosophy, he was trying to say that he's trying to place if this of a philosophy. And when he after his whole research, he saw that despite the fact that he had tried to convert the people of the Baluba people, they still went to the practices that their forefathers were doing. And it really got him to ask some questions. What are these practices that were able to be, settled, or these problems that were settled in the African manner that were not be able to be settled in the Christian manner? It was just a wonderful, encounter for him, and I think you guys can also go and look at that book. However, Ali, let me go now, break the tie, and go back to Pastor Allen before I bring Karugu in. He has talked about the Akans people and their practices. However, Pastor Allen, can you give us more practices that your people used to do to acknowledge, praise, and worship their God?
Some of the practices were seen in dancing, for instance. So they had certain dances that they would do, specific dances, specific movements, which were some form of invocation. All right. So we were seeing that in the way they danced. They were also seen in some songs, the way certain songs were sang. And in those songs, you get to realize that even in modern day philosophy, they're going back to some of these things, which has to do with repetition. All right. So they will have a specific line which they will be repeating over a period of time in order to create a certain energy, a certain frequency, which was working for them. Other things included libation, and obviously sacrifices and giving, which could be anything. And one of the specific events, like I come from a tribe and a home where chiefs were raised. All right. So if they wanted to install chiefs, they will come to our house. Now, there used to be a room in one of the homes we had in the village. And in there, they had the gods of the family. All right. And one of the things they used to do is during the festive seasons where we go to the village, there's this food that they prepare. It's called a top made of yam and palm oil and certain leaves. And then they'll go very hot and they'll go and place it on a specific altar that was in that room. But the interesting thing about it, which makes it very evident that that practice was very effective, was that they put this hot food on the altar. And within a matter of seconds, it goes as cold as ice. So these are some of the things that you would see them do in terms of practices in order to connect to that deity, to connect to who they called, Creator God, or to Mother Earth for that matter.
Thank you for that. Karugu, we come from the same community. However, what are the practices that our forefathers used to do, to acknowledge, to praise and worship Mwene Nyaga, Gaiwa Kiri Nyaga? What were they doing? Karugu, go through. I hope you can hear me.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Karugu?
Also, there were many things that were done to praise.
Go through, Karugu, go through.
There were many things that were done to praise.
I think Karugu is experiencing some technical issues. Ali will check on that. However, as he comes back, before he comes back, let me bring in Byron. Karugu, can you hear me? Sorry for that. Ali, please
let's allow him to come back. Let's allow him to rejoin again. I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Ali, check on that. But before Karugu resumes, The man from the lake, you have told us that you people had a very interesting God. You have mentioned about something about the snake, which really fascinates me. I'm one of the people who really fear snakes, really. So, tell us about the practices that you people were doing those days. What were they doing? Are they still doing it even up to today?
There are a lot of interesting practices our people do to show their respect for God. Uh, the most common, libation. Up to date, if I go to my grandmother's place, she, as the head of that house, since my grandfather is dead, will take the first piece of ugali. I think both of you and Tara should know ugali, and
Yes.
throw that piece of ugali outside.
Mm,
That is libation for her. If any meeting is had, if visitors come, the first, usually people are drinking beer when elders meet. That beer must first be poured on the ground before anything happens. And I think there are several other interesting practices. Before tilling, there is a prayer to be said. Especially before plowing, whenever they go out to fish, there are all these types of prayers and rituals they do, just to sort of keep their touch and to ask for the deity's mercy as they head on to their activities, and
Just,
also for blessings.
just to follow up on that, Byron, uh,
Yes,
tell
yes.
us the one that you think is the most weird. Which was the practice that your people used to do, and in your modern capacity, which do you
Uh,
think is like the most absurd, in your own point of view?
the most absurd. I don't think I have one on top of my head,
Yeah. Okay.
because
Think about it.
most of the ones I know are still being done.
Okay.
So I have gotten quite used to them. Yes.
Mhm.
But
However,
I'm thinking about it.
I'm still going to give
Challenge.
you some time. You just think about it. I'll come back to you. You'll tell us
Okay.
about that. Sharu, I hope you can now hear me. Karugu, Ali.
Yes.
Yeah, you know what needs to be done. Kariku needs to log out and log in again so that we can be able to go through. Kariku, please log out and log in again.
Yeah. Karugu, please log out and log in again so that the system can be able to accommodate you, because I think you're experiencing some technical issues. However, guys, this is Africa. This is how, things operate here. We are used to it. Uh, but we hope that this thing will change. Come on. However, before as Karugu is clearing what is happening, I can share something about our community, because we happen to come from the same community. One of the other practices that I think might go unmentioned is the issue of rites of passage. That is circumcision for boys. I understand they used to do also for girls, but that is now illegal and we cannot condone that anymore. But for the boys, which is still practiced up to today, when they used to cut off the foreskin of the male genitalia, it was a symbol to showcase that this boy is no longer a boy but a man. But more importantly, it was to showcase now that the blood that has dripped and has gone to the soil has now connected you with the forefathers, with your God, such that you are now responsible for the community, you are liable to your people and to your God. And you see, one funny thing about it, we were having a conversation with my friend the other day, and I happened to ask him, have you ever seen a small boy who has not been circumcised, who has gone maybe insane? Have you ever seen a mad young boy? It is so hard, it is so hard. But you see, when that happens to a boy who now becomes a man, he has been now, what word can I use? Let me say, has been connected with now the power that be. He is now responsible. And if you are not really responsible, or you are not liable on the responsibilities that have been bestowed on you, then you might face the consequences. I think, and some of the consequences in the African setup is things like you going insane. However, I do understand in these modern times we cannot just assume that anybody who has gone insane has gone against the gods. Some things are mental issues. We discussed that in our previous episode, and we are going also to discuss more about that. However, guys, let me now bring Ali in. Ali, you have not told us about what the Sepedi people are doing as as practices to to acknowledge their God from the mountains of Limpopo. What were they doing? What were they doing?
Yeah, tonight, my brother, I'm having some technical issues in the
Yeah,
studio. I hope I'm audible now.
just go through. We can hear you.
Okay, this side actually to acknowledge them, we do some of the things are actually similar to what you guys are doing that side. This side,
Mm-hmm,
as a man, you need to go to the mountains
mm-hmm,
during winter time, June. It's
mm-hmm,
called circumcision school, but in our language we call it komeng. A man needs
mm-hmm,
to go there so that you can acknowledge your ancestors, go there and get circumcised.
mm-hmm,
And when you are at the mountains, when at the mountain we're being taught that as a man, there are challenges that you're going to face, and this is how you need to sort them out. And
mm-hmm,
they are meant that they usually come at the mountain and they
mm-hmm,
teach us how we need to do things.
mm-hmm,
Similar to a woman. A woman
mm-hmm,
also, they also have to go to a school, which
mm-hmm,
they are also calling it komeng.
mm-hmm,
Women, they come there, their grandmothers, they come there, they teach them how they need to do things. So it's
mm-hmm.
almost similar to how you guys are doing things. And also,
Ali, let me ask you, what have you said the practice was called?
it's actually in English we can say it's a circumcision school,
No, no, no.
but this
Just say it in your language. Just say it in your language.
okay, they call it komeng.
Comment.
Komeng.
The reason
Yeah.
why I'm asking that, I happened also to know about the Luya community in the western part of Kenya, and they call
Yeah.
that circumcision kuminya. So
Yeah.
I think it is like almost the same, sounding almost the same. They call it kuminya.
This side,
So it kind of sounds the
this side
same.
is a bit this side is a bit hectic. You know why it's hectic
Yeah.
this side? Because
Mm-hmm,
you find that there are people who are Christians
mm-hmm,
who actually have to, to pause.
mm-hmm,
They have to like to pause a little bit for that month or 2 months. You
mm-hmm,
pause, stop performing your Christianity things, and
mm-hmm,
you go to Komeng. When you get to Komeng, there is a contradiction that is happening there. There are people
mm-hmm,
who are Christians who don't believe to ancestors, and they don't
mm-hmm,
want to do anything that is in relation to Sangomas or our ancestors. Now, when they get to the mountains, the commas actually in most circumcision schools, the doctors that are there, it's not the doctors that we normally see, like the normal doctors, the English doctors. You will
mm-hmm,
find the sangomas there. It becomes a problem where you find that now you have moved from your religion and now
mm-hmm.
you came to the circumcision school and you
Yeah.
find that here there is a different doctor that is here. And it creates a problem there. To
Ali,
some
hold on there. Hold on there. Please hold on there because I don't want us to get out of the topic. We are still on African gods. You're not talking about the conversation here. So we are going to get there where we are going to talk about the alliance of the modern religion activities like maybe Christianity, Hinduism, Islam, and we'll be able to be guided here by our able pastor, Alan, who will tell us how he views that. I'm really want to know what he will say on that. But before that, uh, Mazambe has gone off. Byron, I don't know if you can hear us. I don't know if he's still on the line, but if he isn't, we are going to go through with Pastor Allen. Pastor, you have told us about your culture, and you're a pastor in the United Kingdom. If I can put it right, a foreign land, How has it been for you, first of all? How has it been for you? And knowing that you know the culture that you come from, and also how have you been able to integrate these two different concepts? Is it possible, first of all? And if you've done it, how have you done it? And moving forward, what do you think should be done so that you can be able to have harmony between these two concepts? Because you do understand that in these modern times, it is like sort of a war. Like it is this versus this, which we do understand. It doesn't need to be like that. That we can find a way, a middle point where we can just be able to integrate the two. So, Pastor, go through.
I find the ideas and the concepts of both sides very interesting. Needless to say, I was born and raised in a Christian home. So I was born and raised with the idea that I'm a Christian. I saw all the traditional beliefs and practices within the family and in the country and in my community. Growing up, there wasn't much of a clash. Everybody just existed and did what they needed to do. After I had grown up into my teens and later, I found out, okay, there was a bit of a challenge, because every now and then a man of God would get challenged by a traditional priest that, you know what, if you think your God is powerful, then meet me here, let's deal with stuff. And then you see all these things that were shown us in TV and on media, and so you pick up a lot of different things. Now, having come over to the United Kingdom, I still wasn't so interested in anything until I became a pastor. Now, becoming a pastor, I had to study a bit of theology, obviously, in order to understand deeper what I'm dealing with, to gain academic authority in the area. So when you speak, you know what you're talking about, rather than quoting the Bible says. And if somebody doesn't believe in the Bible, you can't have that conversation with them. Now, I work with a lot of young people in the community, especially in Europe. And one of the things I found was that a lot of young people now don't go to church because they're confused. They're confused because they're hearing all these things. I mean, YouTube has done us a great deal, but then again has messed up a lot of things for us, because you have a lot of young people now who are hearing about our African traditional beliefs and are contrasting it with Christianity, and so they're thinking which is true. And the problem has been that a lot of pastors have not been very educated in most areas to be able to deal with it. So if you challenge anything that they believe in, you're demonized. And once you demonize somebody, you just lose them, basically. So I took the time to investigate and read a bit more and study a bit more, not for anything, but I studied in order to affirm my own faith, to make my own stance very clear. Because a lot of believers have walked in dogma for a long time, things that have been said to them, and they cannot even defend their stance. You know, so that has been one of my interests and one of the reasons why I have read a bit more, not too much, but I have read a bit. But growing up in a Christian home meant that I was born a Christian, you know. But one of the things I've come to understand is that if you really sit down and you study the concepts, as we have all mentioned, there is the concept of one supreme being. And that's a starting point. One supreme being is a starting point. The only challenge has been that having one supreme being, the African traditionalist is saying that my God, the supreme being, allowed me to reach him through the trees, through the mountain, through the streams, through anything. So for the African traditionalist, everything could be a God. Animism, basically. Anything could be granted the status of a God and ability to reach God. Now, when you look at Christianity as we have it, or religion as we have it, before monotheism, there was polytheism. So there was also the worship of many gods. But even in Christianity or Islam or any other religion that you look at, they also all come to the one point, there is a supreme being. So the challenge has been that which route do we reach this supreme being? So all the problems we have in terms of religion has to do with how we reach our God. Now, because I feel my way of reaching God is right, I say your way cannot be right, and therefore your God can be the same as my God. And so even though we may, quote unquote, just to say that advisedly, even though we may all be looking at the same supreme God, we are challenging ourselves because of our means and saying that we have different gods. But putting that aside, one of the things that I've come to understand, and I say, which helps me, is that nobody argues with results. Nobody argues with results. So if somebody brought you a certain form of religion or a certain mode of belief, the only reason why most people will grab a hold of that belief is because it probably works for them. Because a lot of the things that we have made sacred and we have deified, you realize that over a period of time, when you gain understanding, you realize that it's not as sacred as you thought it was. So a lot of things that you would have attributed to a divine source, you find out that there is a scientific reason for it. So there is this interesting movie that I watch, kids movie. And there was one gentleman that always would go to the top of the mountain and hit this big gong at a particular time.
Yeah.
And as soon as he hits it at that time, the sun comes up.
Yeah.
So in that community, their belief was that the only reason why the sun comes out is by hitting the gong.
Yeah.
But here comes a day when the guy fell asleep, overslept. And so by the time he was running to go and hit the gong, the sun came out.
The sun was out. Yeah.
So then people realized that it is not the gong that brings the sun out, but we just figured out the timing. And so we have put a practice there that makes us feel that is what brings God or the sun. And so what happens for me is that a lot of people are living by what works for them. If you work by what is working for you, nobody should be able to challenge you, because at the end of the day, it is providing results. So if somebody feels like they can dance to a certain deity for rain to come down, and you cannot pray to your deity for rain to come down, then you have no right to challenge him who is able to bring results. The reason why we accepted the foreign religion is similar to the reason why we used to walk. We used to go by donkeys. We used to go by horses. When they brought us the aeroplane, we accepted it because it was a better mode of transport.
Yes.
When they brought us the car, we accepted it because it's a better mode of transport. So the only reason why you would accept their religion also, which you say is their religion, is probably because it works better for you than what you were used to. And that is why in 21st century, you will see that most people who worship idols, or most people who worship another mode through another mode, will come and submit their mode to this other mode which they have found, which seemingly is working better for them. So for me, I think the only reason why I've come to accept, as it were, what is become the status quo is because of result. If it provides result, you cannot argue with it.
Thank you, Pastor. You have actually reminded me the words of Professor P.L. Lumumba. He was speaking somewhere and he said that if anything that God is diverse, such that He is one, and everybody understands Him in their own perspective. Everybody understands them in their own perspective, and I really want to also link that with what you have said, which is so powerful and amazing, that on result. So if this is what is diverse, this is what I understand my God to be, basing on the results. My God is a blesser because He has blessed me. My God is a rain giver because He gives me rain, basing on the results. Oh God, that is so wonderful. Anyway, Ali, before I bring Byron in, allow me also to acknowledge some people who are sending in their comments. Please, if you can be able to put them on the screen. I can see Fresia Gojiri saying, here we say Nekwe. That is Kikuyu, meaning here we say we are okay, as in we are good. Kevin Derito saying, time to hear brilliant minds sharing their thoughts. True. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you. Larry M saying, wow, with the fire emoji. Ubeka saying, yes. I think he responding to what Pastor was saying. It was bringing us in the spirit, in the mood. Ubeka still saying true. What else?
Yeah, we are there. We are there.
No, Ali, there's something you have missed. I can see Eddie Guerrero saying interesting discussion. keep up. And Hugo, tuned in, good work you're doing. Keep fire burning. Go, Karugu Hugo. I know that was for Karugu. I hope he has been able to hear that wherever he is. And also, who else we have left out? Yeah, we cannot be able to read all the comments coming in, but thank you guys for sending in your comments. Byron, let me bring you in now. I don't know how you're going to top what Pastor has said. You have a very difficult role here. But we are now wanting to link and bring in the alliance between our cultures and the modern times. I do understand you're a person who's well vested and understands their culture, the Luo culture, the people of the lake. You know, Ali, before Byron says anything, let me tell you, the community that Byron comes from here in Kenya, hey, they give us problems. You know, they're very proud. Yeah? You remember what Lamek was telling us the other day? He comes from that community. These are the people who drive Mercedes Benz. That's how they say it. Mercedes. If they're driving anything less than that, we don't acknowledge it. However, we love that. We love that. So, Byron, I asked you, what was the most absurd and weird practice that your people do? That is one. Two is, how are you now able, as a young person, and also basing on what Pastor Allen has said, are you able now to link the two? Because as he has said, and it is true, we are at that point where we are confused. You know, for example, I know this is my culture, this is how my forefathers used to do it, and I also understand the history of how Christianity came to the continent. You know, and I also see the result of the Christianity way of life, and I kind of get confused in that whole process. But I do understand you're a wise person. Yeah, you are a brilliant guy. So how are you able to now align all of this so that you can be in harmony with yourself, in your soul, in body, and in spirit? How are you now able to bring this all together?
Starting with the weirdest practice, I think I'll go with the removal of the 6 lower teeth. Which was, while you were doing circumcision, that was what we did. It was mainly for health purposes, because there are some herbs that are placed there, and they help you to, I'd say, I was taught, grow well. Like they keep you from a lot of diseases. Generally, they just keep you in a better health and probably make you stronger.
Did they work?
I don't know, because I don't have them, so I cannot give you answers. I still have my teeth. My teeth are still here.
Confirmed.
Yes, my teeth are still here. I have not removed them. Anyway, so in terms of aligning the two, I think my people were smart enough to have already thought of that. When the white man came in Luo land, they usually say they did not see any reason why God will go and give a white man a Bible to come, the whole Bible to come and bring to us, yet he can communicate to us using the various spirits that are around. Those spirits are called Jogi in our land. So through those various Jogi, God can communicate to us. Why did he send a white man with Christianity and the whole Bible? But you see, there are various parts to being a Christian. One of them was education, and Christianity also ushered in colonialism. And so the other part was, we could easily fight with the colonialists, or at least know their ways, because they were beating us with guns thoroughly. We could at least find ways to survive. So in that sort of finding ways, I think several Luos have developed religions that mix both Christianity and the traditional Luo culture. If you look for religions like Roho Israel, it exists mostly in Luo Nyanza, but it is a mixture of the two. They accept both Christ and they accept their traditional beliefs. And it works. If you look, the most popular one is Lejo Maria. Lejo Maria is actually, I'd say, a derivation of Legion of Mary, which is part of the Catholic Church. But they have made it their own, and it is a combination of both elements of the Catholic Church and the traditional society. They
Yeah.
combine the two harmoniously in such a way that we do not lose our culture, but we're able to go with the modern times. We're able to go with the modern times, because all of us, we have all accepted that there is one God. We have Nyasai, who is the overall God, and it is to him we are all communicating through the spirits. And so, since we are all communicating to Nyasai, I think we can combine Jesus and we can combine the spirits in one religion and stay peaceful, because both of them, as the pastor said, people are looking for what works for them. I think in my own grandmother, I will not go for my own grandmother. She is a devout Catholic to the end. But if there is a problem in the household, she will go to the lake and commune with those spirits and try to figure out a solution. So it is a sort of amalgamation of mixing two different religions. If this works for you, you pick it. If this works for you, you pick it. It's a buffet of really. I'd say something like that, as of how I understand it. Because for us, we want to reach God. We want to commune with Him. We want to talk to Him so that He can hear us.
Yeah.
And eventually, since that is the goal, whatever works is best.
Thank you, Byron. It will be an African show if it ended and you have not said any vocabulary from the food industry. It's a buffet.
But of course.
But of course, it is what it is. So I can see we are running out of time, and I want to go back to Pastor Allen. And in Swahili we say, yote tisa, la kumi. In short, I'm trying to ask you, having said all that, all said and done, what is your comment and your parting shot, moving forward, especially with the concept? And I know you have already experienced this issue of, especially young people like us, being lost in the confusion. So what do you think should be done, or what do you tell people to do, and especially as Africans, whether living in the continent or abroad? What do we do now so that we can be able to be in harmony? What can we do so that we can be able to bring in peace within ourselves, so that we can also give peace? We say ex nihil nihilo fit, from nothing comes. I can't give you peace and I don't have peace. And some of us are lacking peace because we are confused in such kind of concept. So as your parting shot, and also as your advice to young people out here, what do they do in such kind of concept to bring harmony within themselves?
One of the things I've come to discover is that the statement that knowledge is power is very true.
Yes.
One of the mistakes we make is that we hear something and we start running with it without looking for reinforcement. So for instance, if I go on YouTube, I don't just listen to one person and then conclude. I will listen to many people. I will read many books in order to find out the truth in what has been said. Truth be told, for those who say the Bible is the white man's book which he brought for us, if anything, he did us a good favor by bringing us the book. Because if you read the book very well and you understand it, it is meant to bring freedom to the person who has been held under. It is meant to lift up the person who has been despised. So if anything, for the African who was colonized and who was looked down upon and who was crushed down, the Bible is a tool to tell you, rise up. The only problem is that we have accepted the word and we have accepted their interpretation, which was used to manipulate. So we cannot throw out the baby and the bath water. What we need to do is we need to gain understanding of what is there. The other thing we need to also understand is that African tradition and Christianity, for that matter, I tend not to see too much of a conflict, because when you read scriptures carefully, Bible says, for God so loved the world that he gave us his only begotten son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. Jesus has everything to do with salvation. That doesn't cancel out most of the things that we know and are used to. For instance, we say Jesus, and so a lot of people think because of Jesus, angelic beings don't exist anymore. No. When Jesus found himself in a situation, the Bible said he received angelic assistance. So it tells you that the ministry of angels, which probably was a part of African tradition, is not cancelled because Jesus came into the scene. So when we begin to read and gain understanding, then we get to see all these things in a clear light. When the Bible speaks about serving a supreme God, as we know it in our tradition as well, all the Bible is saying is that we have access to this supreme being. We have access to this supreme being. So rather than going through all these other places, because again, some of these beings are manipulative. Some of these beings mean no good. Some of these beings are very vengeful. So he's saying, rather than going through the finance minister to come to me, or going through the head of so and so to come straight to me as the president. Let's talk. Once you get to understand that, then I believe that it takes away a lot of problems. But one of the things I believe in is that we need to study. Even the Bible, when people start arguing about the Bible, I laugh, because if you read it properly, you understand that it is actually giving you strength.
Yeah.
You know, the last thing I'm going to say, one of the things, especially that people like to mention when it comes to religion, or Christianity for that matter, is the fact that they all speak about peace. But then most of the times they bring problems and war, and there have been this. African tradition is not exempt from that.
Yeah.
Because if there is one king, if I get his name right, I believe it was King Pinyanki. All right, during the time when they had the Nile worship in the Egypt area, one of the things he declared was a holy war in order to maintain the concept of Nile worship, which they had from the invaders. And this was a traditional African belief and practice.
Yeah.
You know, so it tells you that when somebody wants to protect what they have, they will wage a holy war.
Yeah.
So rather than throwing it out there and saying that this religion is bringing us problem, we must realize that it is not because it's bringing us problem, but when everybody wants to protect what they have, sometimes they will have to wage that holy war. Not to say that violence is acceptable, but when somebody's protecting their house, it's like, as I'm in my house, if an intruder comes in, I'm going to deal with them, regardless of being a pastor. I'm going to have to protect my household. I tell you, I'm going to have to protect my household. Do you understand? And so this becomes the cause of what we seemingly comes to us, because we already hold the concept in our head. Once that comes to life, we say, oh, they're violent. It's not because of that, but everybody wants to protect what they have.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I don't want to add anything, deduct anything from that, you know. And that was wonderful, Pastor. Thank you for that. Ali, Byron has, I think he also experiencing some network issues. I don't know what is happening today. However, before we end the show, allow me also to mention some other people are sending in their comments. Stephen Manyaki saying it is solid. Barbara Jerry saying Byron comes from the most lavish tribe in Kenya. Mageto Misiani, Mbuyamono is Kisii. It's a language, it's a tribe here in Kenya. You remember Wycliffe Mageto has been in our show. And he said, we have a great mind here. We have great minds here. And Rebecca saying, knowledge is power. Get understanding. Thank you very much, guys, for that. It has been a wonderful show. I want to send out a special shout out for Pastor Allen, joining us from UK. You know, we are really humbled by your presence here. We have learned a lot from Khan's community all the way bringing into the Christian understanding of it. I want to thank you very much. Also, TF Karugu, he has left the show due to some network issues. Mazambe, also from Zimbabwe, thank you very much for coming through. And also Byron Kochala from the Luo community, thank you very much for coming through. Ali, I don't have much to add or say that on that. I can see Pastor has done a good job today, and I don't want to mess it up. You know, once somebody has cooked a good meal and you keep adding more spices, you're going to spoil it. So I'm not going to do that. Ali, over to you.
No, I hope I'm audible.
You're audible.
Yeah, no, nothing much to be said, my brother. Just that there were some technical issues. I had much to say. There were some technical issues. It's quite interesting listening to what Pastor Allen had been saying, because to be honest with you, Pastor Allen, this side in South Africa, there's a quite a contradiction to some of the things that you were saying, where most of the people who are in Christian, they just put their focus on Christian. Those who believe in culture, they believe in culture. Reason being, it's because of the result, as you said. And there are other people who also create the other things that we don't know what do they call. They also get results from whatsoever that they create, and which is also creating a problem. But I like what you said, where you said that it's a matter of result. You're not forced actually to be this side or this side. It's a matter of result. And
Ali, I can see also Barbara and Jerry has just sent in a comment saying the diversity in this conversation is on point, and that is our whole idea of African Corner, bringing different brilliant minds together from across the world. Even if it were possible, we could have been getting people from Mars, and Jupiter, but that is not possible. Guys, that is humanly impossible. So we want to thank you guys very much. Keep on sharing the comments so that the content so that other people can learn. Don't be selfish, And that's we want to just say that, the things that are said here are we're doing this for political reasons, and the views and the opinions of the people who have said it. So we want to thank you very much for tuning in live, continue sharing, and we are also going to bring in Pastor Allen for a special episode where he can also take us through wonderfully and just guide us and tell us all that you can be able to learn from him. We want to tap from these wonderful, brilliant minds that are across the world, which can help us and benefit us. And that is the whole point of African Corner. Ali, my name is Motazi Washira Mojiro Baria Kiregeze. Nasema asante sana. Thank you very much. God bless you. See you next Sunday. It's a wrap for me.
All right, Thank you so much. And thank you so much to Pastor. Thank you so much. Enjoy the night.
Good night.
Good night.